Can everybody see my PowerPoint? Great. Okay, we'll go ahead and get started. Welcome to the July Mobility and Access Coalition. It's great to see so many faces. We're going to go ahead and get started. We have lots of community updates today. Just a reminder, we're using the Zoom platform, and if you accidentally get disconnected, you can always do the one-tap call-in on your phone. You won't be able to see what we're sharing on the screens, but you'll be able to listen to the conversation. Also, just a couple of housekeeping features. We have the mute button down here. I'm sure this is old hat to everybody, but we'll just go over it again. There's the video that you can turn on and off. Video does help with communication. If you feel comfortable, please show your video, especially when you're talking. You can see the other participants that are in the meeting by clicking on participants. And we have a chat function here. If you wouldn't mind, please put your name and your organization in the chat so that we can, it helps us do minutes and keep track of who attended when. And just a reminder, we are recording this to help with taking minutes. So it helps when Chloe goes back over to know like who said what when. Just a reminder, we meet on the second Monday of the month, and we have been doing this year odd months, being like networking and capacity building for the organization, and then even months having external presentations and getting updates on planning processes. At the end of this meeting, or towards the end, Chloe is going to do a little breakout session to see like how is that working? Is that something that we want to stick with? So for now, though, we're going to be doing internal on odd months and external on even months. Just a reminder that the Mobility and Access Coalition focuses on transportation equity as a social determinant of health, and we through information sharing and collaborative projects, we really try to expand access to transportation and transportation information so that vulnerable members of our communities can be in the safe and thriving areas of the self-sufficiency index so that they can live independently through transportation choices. We have a pretty full agenda here. Most of them are going to be focused on updates from organizations, and we have a few updates about some upcoming public meetings that we wanted to let everybody know about. To go ahead and kick things off, we're going to do a breakout session. So if you haven't been here for us when we did this, this is small group breakout sessions. You're going to introduce yourself to your group, your organization, and then we're all going to work together in our breakout rooms through the transportation case study. In this particular case, we try to use challenging transportation obstacles that we've experienced through information and referral calls. So today, I'm going to turn it over to Chloe to kind of describe what our case study is today.
Yeah, thanks, Angel. I appreciate it. Yeah, so this is the case study for today. We have a 37-year-old named Jackie. She is low income and she's a single mother of an 11-year-old. She recently got in a car accident that totaled her car, and she can't afford to replace her car and needs to get her son to school. He goes to Casey Middle School, which I think many of you should know, it's in Boulder. And that is 1.3 miles away from their mobile home park in Boulder. And the middle school only offers bus service 1.5 miles outside of the school. So that means that her son cannot take the bus to school. So we're wondering how Jackie can get her son to school safely without a personal vehicle, and what transportation options do Jackie and her son have, and what would Jackie's mobility plan look like. So we're going to put you into some breakout rooms to discuss this. It should be about 5 to 10 minutes, and I can set those up right now.
Chloe, before you move on with that, can I show them the what it's going to look like with the Jamboard?
Definitely, go for it.
So if you haven't been here with us, we do a Jamboard, which is kind of like a whiteboard that you can use independently. But we have your breakout rooms are numbered, so make sure that you pay attention to what number breakout group you are assigned to when Chloe opens up the group. And here you can add a Post-it with any information about like how they would get around, right? So you would just add your Post-it note to your particular page that you're on. So just pay attention up here. You can scan to different groups to make sure that your group number matches the number that you're assigned to. Does anybody have any questions? I'll share the, you can access this Jamboard by clicking on the link in the chat. So let me know before we break out if you all can edit that. Can somebody try? You can, okay. Zoe's giving me the nod. Okay, so I created 5 different breakout groups, Chloe, if you wanna do that.
Perfect, sounds great. I will set that up now. Looks like people are trickling in as well, so you might get someone added a little bit later on into your group. So there'll be 5 breakout groups. I'm going to create them now and you'll be sent into a new room. So we will see you in about 5 to 10 minutes. Okay, it looks like Jan and Natalie, you weren't added into a group. Oh, Natalie was. Oh, there they go.
There we go.
Perfect.
So it looks like somebody might have, oh, there's unassigned. Jessica, you're not showing up on here, but I think that's because you created, or you were the host.
Yeah.
Probably.
I think Veronica, let's see if we can. So, and then the person who creates the breakout rooms doesn't necessarily go into them. And then how long did you tell them, Chloe?
I said 5 to 10 minutes, so anywhere in between there is great.
Okay. And then we just give them, I think it's if you close all rooms, it'll take about a minute. I think it does like a minute countdown. So we do a 2-minute warning for everybody, and then we close all the rooms, and then it does like the break, the countdown. So I don't know if one of you wants to do that.
Jessica, if you want to try, you're welcome to.
Yep.
If you haven't done that yet. Yeah.
So will that be in the broadcast message to all? I can say like 2 minutes.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Yeah, so maybe in like 4 or 5 minutes, say 2 minutes, and then close it after
Yeah.
a minute of that. Yeah.
Let me set my timer just in case.
Or maybe give them 5 minutes and then a 2-minute warning. Yeah. Yes, that makes sense. So it's 2:10. So give them until 2:15 for a 2-minute
2-minute warning.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sorry, I don't know why that was so confusing.
That sounds good. Let me do that.
I always love like seeing who's with whom. I don't know some of these people.
Cool.
Oh, sorry, we also pause it.
Hi, everyone. Welcome back to the room. We're just waiting for people to slowly trickle in. Okay, I think almost everyone is back. So I hope that was an interesting case study. And I'm going to share my screen just to show you the Jamboard so you can see everyone's answers. Can everyone see my screen? Okay.
Yep, good.
Thank you. All right, so this is breakout group 1, and it would be great if we could have a spokesperson from breakout group 1. So Lisa, Stephanie, Deborah, Veronica, or Eugenia, if one of you could present on the different options that you talked about, that would be great.
I definitely think it has to be Lisa. She's the guru.
Hi, everyone. The first thing I thought of was Hop, Skip, Drive, because that's what they do. They get kids to school, certified and everything. And then we discussed every option, from carpooling with maybe another family, or talking to the school, seeing if they could get something together. Z-Trip, if they could afford it. RTD route, if it was within range. Walk the son to the range of a stop, and see if he could get on the bus where they're already stopping, if that would be allowed. You know, anything like that we could be able to assist in getting the child to school.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Lisa. I appreciate you sharing that. Does anyone else from this group have any other ideas or anything to add on to that?
Nope.
I just have a question. What is Z-Trip? I'm not familiar with that.
It's a cab company.
Cab? A cab? Okay, thank you.
Yep, you're welcome.
Perfect. Sounds great. All right, we will move on to breakout group number 2. So that's Jamie, Marta, Paul, Peter, and Zoe. So if one of you can present, that would be great.
I'm happy to, but I'm trying not to jump up too fast in case anyone else wants to.
Go ahead and jump. Sorry. Thank you.
Oh, okay, jumping. Yeah, we had a nice conversation about several different options. So keeping in mind low income, needing to get to school, we were thinking maybe taking a skip or a hop to a Colorado car share location. Potentially looking for carpool options like on My Way to Go, that website. They could call VIA for referral options. They could call Dr. Mack and see what their options are. There might be some different routes, maybe through RTD, for example, that show up in the transit app. And we had a question, do BVSD students have access to EcoPass? We weren't sure, maybe. Our options in orange are other options, but maybe less recommended. Biking, scooter might be difficult to schlep a child around with, or if depending on what the circumstances are of the accident, might not be an appropriate solution. And Uber and Lyft, while available, are very pricey. So that's what we came up with.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Zoe, for sharing all of those. Does anyone have any answers to if BVSD students have access to the EcoPass program?
They don't. I'm with the school district, and the RTD has said a hard no to students getting EcoPasses, but we do provide students with other types of passes. We can get grants through Impact on Education and get student tickets that way.
Perfect. Thank you for sharing that, Amy. I appreciate it. It's a great question.
And I'll weigh in that students also get a pretty significant discount on fares on RTD. So it's not the $3, it's like
it's 90 cents. Yeah, for a 3 hour. Yeah. So it's pretty cheap.
Awesome. Any last comments from anyone in breakout group 2? Perfect. Sounds great. Well, thank you all for sharing that information. We'll move on to breakout group 3, which is Jason, Shirley, Angela, Jan, and Corey. Would one of you want to share your options?
I guess I will speak on behalf of group 3. Most of our conversation went around thinking that reaching out to Boulder Valley School District would be the good first step, regardless of what the actual solution would end up being, whether it would be getting connected to another parent or an Uber or Lyft, or maybe there's a bus stop within walking distance that's already established that the student could walk to that is at that 1.5 mile marker. And then an interesting program, I believe that Angela mentioned in Jeffco about that provides assistance to single mothers. That could be a good program to help this person get their car back and running. But most of our conversation focused on reaching out to Boulder Valley first.
I don't see myself, my answers on there at all. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay, this is Jan. And I don't have a car any longer, and I'm really focused on trying to reduce our fossil fuel costs. So my idea is, my kids we lived on Mapleton Avenue, not that far from Casey, but they went to Casey, and they had bikes and scooters and rollerblades and roller skates and skateboards. And I some kids could get by with those things. And it would be very helpful to be out in good weather, at least, getting yourself to school. And I guess another possibility, I think there are probably other parents going the same direction every day, and perhaps carpooling would work for a while until they get the car back. But I think we need to start thinking of ways to get people places without cars and fossil fuels.
Absolutely. Yeah, thank you so much for sharing that, Jan. And thank you also to Corey for sharing too. Do either of you or anyone else in this group have any other thoughts about your answers? Okay, we can move on to breakout group 4. Thanks, breakout group 3. All right, so this is Erin, Kathy, Katie, Megan, and Natalie. If any of you could be the spokesperson for your group, that would be great.
It looks like we may have been group 5 notes that we accidentally put on the wrong page. So
No
sorry, we
problem.
moved them and did it.
We didn't have any notes. Group 4 didn't
No
have any
worries.
notes.
That's totally fine.
We did have some comments, but we didn't have any notes.
Yeah, feel free to share your comments. Yeah, anything that you thought of.
You know, it's always, we're always looking to put people on wheels for solutions and so forth. Could have been me, and I had 3 boys. You know, 1.3, walk it, get your bike, have at it. I had to. I grew up in Germany though, so I guess that's a different situation, but that's what I would have told them and had told them. You know, when I'm looking at the transit options and the walking that you have to do, and then that little bit of transit that you catch, and the walking takes you just as long as if you're just walking. So you might as well just walk it or ride your bike or rollerblade or take the scooter. And if it's not that good weather, like others mentioned, I'm sure out of that area, there are other families with kids who have kids going to Casey that through BVSD, there could be coordination of some sort of carpool, car share, coordinating, you know, some other program that kids get to school when the weather's not so good. The others from my group, feel free to chime in.
And the only other thing that I thought I recall hearing sometime in the past was that there was some sort of program to help get kids. So like if that kid did not have a bike currently, that there might be a program to help get them a bicycle, because I think it's very bikeable most of the time.
Yeah, I believe possibly Community Cycles had a program, but I don't know too much about it. If anyone knows any of those programs in the community.
I think maybe group 5 is going to be our power hitter with the, oh, Jen, sorry.
Oh, I was just going to say, with Community Cycles, there are bicycles available and they'll take a little application process. There's a kids holiday bike giveaway event in December every year. So they're not necessarily available all year, but Community Cycles is definitely a great resource for bicycles.
Definitely. Thank you so much, Jen. Any last thoughts from anyone in breakout group 4? Okay, we'll move on to breakout group 5. So that is Amy, Cami, Elaine, and Jeff, if one of you can share your thoughts.
Yeah, I can represent the group since I am from BVSD. And it seems like we've gotten a lot of really good ideas so far that we thought of too. Like I said, RTD is kind of a possibility. Not at least it's not, maybe might be easier to just walk, but like I said before, we do work hard to get RTD passes. Impact on Education has been great at helping us fund RTD passes for kids who need them. We do work with Dr. Cog. We've got a carpool network set up for every single school in the district. So we can get people hooked up with that. Biking is a great option. Casey has one of the nicest bike racks in the whole district. It's covered and everything. It's beautiful. So Community Cycles is a great resource. Boulder High has got a bike fixing class now, so that could be a good resource. If you reach out to me, I've got connections with the high school mountain bike teams. So we can ask families for donations of bicycles. As far as the school bus goes, we have a program called Space Available Busing. So you can apply to go to a stop that is within the bus zone. So that could be an option. What else do we say? You can always reach out to me. And one thing I like to do is I download all of the addresses for a certain school and I map it out and I see who lives close. And then I reach out to the community liaison at that school. And we kind of make little introductions like, hey, would you be willing to walk or bike or carpool with a family that lives close by? Yeah, I think we covered most of them.
I guess another thing we were mentioning was like looking around the neighborhood to see who is there, and I'm just thinking, trying to get like a bike train or walking school bus going from that area would be awesome.
Yeah, and that's really key with the community liaison because they know those families. So if we couple that with the map, with me mapping out where everybody lives at the school, that's a good way to get something like that going.
Absolutely. Yeah, thank you so much, Amy, and all of you in group 5 for all of that really valuable information. It's always good to hear
Can
the
I just
different
add one
options.
point real quick?
Oh, yeah.
For those of the kiddos who do fall outside of the walk and bike zone, which is going to happen, I know some of you mentioned Hop Skip Drive, which is great because it is tailored towards kids, but just keep in mind, like most transit service providers, they're really short on drivers right now. So they're another service that if we want to encourage more drivers or more parents who might be already going to schools to sign up to be a Hop Skip driver car, that might really help. Just because they aren't able to always honor the requests at this point. They're trying as best they can, but just they're short drivers too. So just a plug for that. It's a great service, but they need help as well.
Definitely. Thank you so much for that, Cami. That's really important to keep in mind. Is there any other comments from anyone in group 5? Okay, great.
And then I echo what Jen said about community cycles, but we also, people can reach out to just say, I really, really need something. And we're often working with people to try and make it happen.
Absolutely.
Bicycle Longmont can also help. If like Community Cycles doesn't have any available bikes, Bicycle Longmont might. So they're getting donations all year long. So both of them, I think, kind of operate on, if they have it available, they'll give them out. They both do their bike giveaway events, but sometimes they have extra bikes. So, if one is out, try the other.
One last really wild out there idea is if the parent wanted to become an employee of the BVSD Transportation Department, they can bring their student to work with them and then they can put them on any bus they like. And we always need bus drivers and aides. We're always short and we are having a hiring event on Wednesday.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Amy. And thank you for everyone for sharing all of those options again. Any last comments or questions?
Just a comment. I counsel a lot of people on transportation, and when somebody is coming from a car environment, they're looking for a silver bullet, and there are none when it comes to alternate transportation. So make sure that they kind of like you give them options and have them rank them like you said, bike is great, but what happens when it snows? What's your options? So a lot of people, when they do come from that car environment, you kind of have to teach them how to rank these and have a menu of options.
Definitely. That's a great idea. Yeah. Thank you for sharing that, Jamie. Any last thoughts? I
Chloe,
do
this-
see. Yeah.
I put up on the chat a
Mm.
link to one of the programs that's available through the COG. It's part of the Safe Routes to School initiative, and a lot of communities do this. And some people call it the bike bus option. Here they call it the school pool program. And what it's essentially designed to do is not only train you on how to get from point A to B if you're on a bike, and it's your first time doing something out of the ordinary, being a kid going through your neighborhood. How do I get to school? And how do I safely get to school, which is potentially putting people together. So you have 2, 3, 4 people. I think I heard somebody else weigh in earlier that, if you were like me and you lived too close at one point to take the bus, you walked to school. And back then I walked with my neighbors, and that's just what we did. And we walked about a mile to school in northern Indiana in the snow. And in better weather, we biked to school. This gives them one more way to figure out how to make that happen.
Definitely. Thanks for sharing that, Paul. And that link is in the chat for anyone who wants to see that. Any other last thoughts before we move on?
I would just say, we live in a different time than when I was a kid and you were a kid and we walked these long distances to school. Just a much different time. So I think when we consider this challenge, especially if she's, stressed out, it's just how do we come together, kind of wrap them up in love and support. I love the biking idea, but yeah, there's weather. And but I really loved the one that hop skip. I was like, oh, that's the best idea. Or seeing if the school can't accommodate them, if they can walk that short distance to another location. But I was a single mom. My kids' school wasn't that far. And when they got a little bit older, middle school, she did ride a bike. So,
Yeah,
definitely.
I think what people are bringing up too is why there's these boundaries for busing and biking. They aren't necessarily matched up with human behavior. So I think it's good to reiterate that the boundaries might not be what parents are comfortable with letting their kids walk or bike on their own. So I think that's just something to consider. And it did say this was a low income mom. So like the ride hail services or hop skip drive could be completely unaffordable unless it's somehow subsidized through a partner. So I think that's something to consider as well. So, but I think BVSD is chock full of great resources. So I agree with whoever, I think it was Corey, who might have said, call BVSD first. They are usually quite able to help these families. So kudos to BVSD's Safe Routes Department. They find a way to come up with options. And I know there's a number of nonprofits that might be able to help the mom with her bigger issues besides just getting kiddo to school, because that's just one of her challenges right now.
I'll chime in one more time and just say too, that BVSD has a program called Trip Checker, where we reward kids for taking alternative transportation to school. So one way to encourage letting this kid walk or bike or take the RTD is that they could earn Trip Checker dollars to spend at local businesses. So a little extra incentive.
I'll just mention, if it's okay, that I was a middle school teacher. I taught 6th grade. Kids are pretty independent at 11 years old. And I think that we should honor that and encourage that independence where they're making decisions.
I would like to just add too, because I heard a couple of people that are saying it's a different time and a different place. I currently have an 11-year-old daughter who bikes or walks to her middle school, which we hit the same thing where we are closer than 1.5 miles, but we are farther than a mile. And she is very capable of doing it, has no qualms with it at all. And it's completely normal to her. And she likes the independence. I like that as well.
Definitely. Yeah, thank you so much to everyone for sharing those personal anecdotes as well. It's always great to hear from you the different ways that you've helped your kids or helped other kids get to school if a personal vehicle isn't the ideal option. So really appreciate it. Any last thoughts before we move on to updates from organizations? Okay, thank you so much all again for participating in this, and I'll turn it over to Angel to go into updates from your organizations.
Great, thank you, Chloe, and thank you everybody for participating. I think it's good for us to all go through the exercise so we have our scripts ready when people ask us for transportation supports. Shirley, I see that your hand's raised.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, sorry, I'm having some major technical issues with my phone.
Sorry about that.
Oh, that's okay. That's all right. It's just me. So it's not really an announcement, but I do want to make everybody aware that we are really actively seeking new listeners, especially in Boulder. We've got some funding that we're trying to use, and we're really trying to beef up our numbers in Boulder. Just as a reminder, we provide access to podcasts and programs and, yoga and all kinds of really good content for anyone with any barrier to reading. We can give them an Echo Dot. It's a free service. We don't charge anything for it. If you go to our website, it's super easy to sign people up. Or you can just reach out to us by phone. But if you guys could just kind of put us in the front of your mind when you run into folks that have barriers, I'd greatly appreciate it. Thanks.
And that's Audio Information Network of Colorado.
Yes.
So
Yeah. AIN Colorado spelled out.org is our website. And you can sign a new listener up there. It takes all of a minute.
Great. Thank you, Shirley. I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
So I'd like to introduce one of the new Mobility for All staff. We're really excited to have Dr. Jessica Viena Sanchez on the Mobility for All team. I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to her, but we hired her, I think, in April, and she was able to start in June after her PhD program. So I'll turn the floor over to Jessica so she can tell you a little bit about herself.
Yeah, thank you, Angel. Hello, everybody. My name is Jessica Viena Sanchez, as Angel mentioned. I got my PhD at DU about a month ago. My background is in geography, so my PhD was focusing on transportation geography issues of older adults in Mexico City, which is the city where I'm from. Before that, I did my master's and my undergrad degree in Mexico City. They were both focused on transportation and urban issues. So for my master's, I did accessibility to rural roads. And in my undergrad, I studied traffic safety. So yeah, I'm very excited to be the new member of this program, Mobility for All, as a bilingual planner. I'm excited to work with you and start to, build a network of stakeholders and community members. That's my email address. If anybody wants to reach out, I'm happy to help in any capacity that I can. And yeah, looking forward to getting to know all of you better. Thank you, Angel.
Thank you. And we're just so happy to have you on the team. You bring so much to us. So thanks a lot. Moving on, I'm going to turn it over to Lisa Bitzer with VIA for the VIA Mobility Services update.
Thanks, Angel. Things are busy as ever here at VIA. We are still averaging about 300 plus new riders every single month. And that's throughout all of our service area. Call center has been really busy. Answering calls, hired some more reservationists. So hopefully the wait times aren't as bad as what they were before. And our next big thing that we're doing is we're looking for new software to replace the current software Route Match that we have. So we've been working on that for the last couple of months, narrowing down our choices, both for our paratransit and for our fixed route, that is the HOP. and, you know, looking to hopefully do some more service in the Northern Front Range. Hopefully that'll all work out. And then a new service in Westminster that will start August 15th. Westminster within Westminster for riders 60 years of age and or a disability, on top of our already service that is already there, taking people from Westminster to other areas in the Denver metro area. Still looking to hire drivers. I think it's going to be something that everyone does that's in the transit world. So still doing that. And then on this Wednesday, we have a new volunteer coordinator to start. His name is Michael. And he'll be new to VIA, and we'll get him up and running and get him trained and to build our volunteer driver fleet, which right now we've got about 15 volunteers, and not up all pretty much up here in the Boulder County area. But we hope to start building volunteers down in the Denver metro to help either deliver food or moving people from one place to another. So that's about it for us. Just staying busy as ever and keeping up with everything.
Great. You also just, you all are going to be the operator for the Lions service too as well. Yeah. So Boulder County, we launched the Lions service to replace the Y, and VIA won the contract for that. And that's funded through RTD and then local Boulder County sales tax dollars. So we're excited to have you on as a contractor for that as well.
Yep, that's been going really well. People have been riding. They seem to love it. So far, so good. And then, of course, we're always busy with our summer contracts at Park to Park, El Dorado Shuttle, El Dorado Park Shuttle, Hop to Chautauqua, and the list goes on.
Yeah, great. Thank you so much, Lisa. Next,
I'm so sorry, Angel. I have a couple of items I'd love to share if we have some time.
Oh, sure. Go ahead, Zoe.
Thank you. And I was wondering, may I share my screen? I'd love to point out some things on our website.
Yep. Go ahead.
You very, very much. Right. So first off, I want to share that we are in our final week for our Freedom to Move campaign. This is a campaign where we are trying to raise $50,000 toward the purchase of a second facility. This is going to enable us to serve way more people than we are right now. And the need just continues to grow. So I'll put the link to this in the description. We have all this info here. Learn more. Angela Bavacqua, who I believe is on our call, wrote this excellent article all about all of our stats, how we're growing, especially in the Denver metro area. So it makes a really huge deal. Really, if at the very least you feel inclined to share some of our posts on social media, we highly welcome that. Thank you for thinking about that. We also have our careers page here. This careers page is going to receive an update in the next couple of weeks. And it's really going to show, we made 30 videos interviewing drivers from different divisions, HOP, VIA Paratransit, Access-a-Ride, FlexRide. And so whether or not you're interested in driving yourself, you can learn from our drivers what it means to them to provide these services. So I'm really going to encourage checking that out. And we also have our volunteer page, which has recently been updated, Volunteer with VIA. Now, this is where we describe how to become one. There's an application process, a full training. All of our volunteer drivers also receive a high level of training, just like our employed drivers. And then we are partners with Boulder County Farmers Market, delivering food to WIC recipients, early child care centers, all things like that. So there's a lot of information all about the program on here. You get to drive a VIA Prius too, which is super fun. So thank you for letting me take a little more of your time. I'll put all these links in our chat. Thanks for the opportunity to share.
Thank you. I really appreciate it. Lots going on. I'm going to share my screen again. I just wanted to let you all know that we've had a couple of presentations by Kathleen Brackey here at this meeting on the transportation sales tax. The Boulder County Commissioners are going to hold a public hearing on August 4th. That is going to be where they determine if they're going to go forward with the ballot measure this year or not, and like what form of a ballot measure it's going to be. You can access all of the Boulder County Commissioners meetings at the meeting portal. I'll put that in the chat. And basically it's from 10:30 to 11:30. It's open to the public, and it will be your opportunity to ask any additional questions or provide public comments on whether we should move forward with extending the sales tax. Do you have any questions about the sales tax public hearing? This is a culmination of a lot of work over the last year, like analyzing a lot of different scenarios. So it'll be good for our team to have some answers, yes or no, either way. So it'll be good. Next, I think I had Christy Britt on here, but I thought that I saw somebody else from Cultivate. Was it you, Katie?
Yes, me,
Yeah,
Katie.
okay.
Yep.
Sorry about that, Katie.
No worries. So I'm Katie Ellenwood, and with Cultivate and the Vets Go transportation service that we provide for senior veterans and their family members. And we are operating like normal. We are still fulfilling about 95% of our ride requests that we get. Gas prices have affected a little bit, but more volunteers are utilizing our mileage reimbursement we offer. We coordinated 188 rides last month, for June, and that was up 27% from the June before, last year in June. But still the rides are about 50 to 60% of rides that were pre-COVID. And we served 27 clients last month, and year to date, we have coordinated 925 rides so far, and we've utilized 25 volunteers last month, and then year to date, 885 volunteer hours. And yeah, we're still providing transportation so we provide transportation, if you don't know, to medical appointments. We have a few dialysis clients that we transport 2 or 3 times a week to those necessary critical appointments, and then many other rides to the VA in Aurora. We even have a ride scheduled tomorrow to Cheyenne VA. And then I'll just mention our Call Pilot program that we started about a little over a year ago. And that is where we call clients who are maybe more isolated, seniors that are maybe more isolated, and it's just a chance for a volunteer to connect and provide a little joy to their day and check in. And so it's kind of a mix of a health and well-being check-in, but also just a friendly chat on the phone. So we're building out our database right now to work on testing the pilot. We have about 10 volunteers and clients that we've been calling weekly and checking in for the last year or so. And we even have had a couple clients who have passed away recently, but the volunteers were there, towards their end of life, and provided weekly phone calls, which was really great to be a part of that. Yeah, so if you have any interest in helping out, volunteering, if you know of anyone we're always looking for volunteers, or if you know of any clients that need services, rides or grocery delivery, or our other services are, we have a Fix-It program. So installing grab bars, home repair, snow shoveling service, and yard work help. So if you have anyone, send them my way, and I'll put the website here and contact information in the chat for you all. But yeah, I think that's it. We're doing pretty well.
Great,
Thank you.
Katie.
Thank you.
Next, I think Ash had to hop off early. But the Veterans Community Project, I'm going to go ahead and provide an update that Ash had asked me to. So let me go ahead and put it on the screen over here. That way maybe you can. Not sure if you can see this very well, but basically the Veteran Community Project, they're a program that serves anybody who has a veteran status, but they're starting to build a tiny home project in Longmont, outside of Longmont. They'll have 26 tiny homes for for veterans. I'll send this in the follow-up email as well, but they are collaborating with a bunch of different organizations on ADA accessibility and doing veteran homeless outreach, especially in the rural areas. They got funding for a van, like a mobile veterans van, and they're hoping to launch that service in the mountains. I'm not sure if she put a particular timeline. It looks like perhaps August 1st. And basically it's to try to connect veterans in the mountains with resources that they can't necessarily travel to. So they have a lot of veterans without formal determination of disability status. And they live far away from public transportation. So if you all can refer veterans to them for assistance, getting access to services. Additionally, they would like to know if there's any way that we can share information about the outreach van. So I'll include that in upcoming newsletters as well. But I will put Ash's contact information in the chat and you can reach out to her specifically if you would like to collaborate with them. I don't think I can answer any questions beyond what I read, but yeah. So next on our list, we have the Lunch and Learn. So I saw in the chat that Paul was talking about it. So Chloe, I'll turn it over to you, and Paul, if you want to chime in, you can too.
Yeah, definitely. Thanks so much, Angel. So we are hosting a Lunch and Learn with RTD about Access-a-Ride. So RTD's Paratransit Eligibility Coordinator, Gretchen Vindergar, will be presenting on Access-a-Ride and RTD's paratransit services. This event is this Thursday at 12 p.m. It's 12 to 1 p.m. It'll be probably around 35 to 45 minutes of presenting on Access-a-Ride, and then some time for questions as well. And what we'll be including in the presentation is what is Access-a-Ride and where Access-a-Ride is available, an overview of the certification process to get certified for Access-a-Ride, how to use the Access-a-Ride services, how to help the people you serve sign up for Access-a-Ride, and more. Basically with this, it's for community partners. So this is for all of you who work for human service organizations or transit providers who are hoping to get more people signed up for Access-a-Ride. It's designed to help you help your clients sign up for the service. And Paul, do you want to jump in and add anything else to this?
I muted my microphone because it seems like every time I plan on speaking, one of our local trash trucks decides to be right outside my house. Yeah, I put an extension to some of the bullets that you put there in the chat box as well. One of the things that I think folks are going to want to ask about when they get to our Uber pilot or our on-demand program that will be taking the place of our Access-a-Cab program is what are our next steps, because we're in the process of, we already actually have an RFQ on the street that will allow us to expand the number of service providers, taxi providers, and TNC providers even further. And it's been a highly successful program for on-demand services for people that use paratransit services, in that we've all been talking in terms of recovery and where are we compared to pre-COVID. Our Access-a-Ride program is already back to about 69% of where it was pre-COVID, but our on-demand services are almost at 100, 96, 97, almost at 100% of where it was pre-COVID. To the tune of almost 20% of all trips we currently provide to our customers are being provided by an on-demand solution. So I think you're probably going to want to hear about that. The Uber pilot, how do you sign up? How do you get training for that? And what does the future hold?
Perfect. Thanks so much, Paul, for sharing all of that. And again, that's this Thursday at 12 p.m. It's great if you can come. We'll also be recording it and we'll send it out to community partners as well once it's over if you can't attend the meeting and you still want to learn about Access2Ride and how to get clients signed up for the service.
Thank you, Chloe. And thanks, Paul, for chiming in there. I do know that Gretchen said that we could schedule another lunch and learn perhaps if we get a lot of questions about the Uber pilot. So just in general with the allotted time we have, I'm not sure how in depth she's going to be able to get into all that, but I do think it's great to ask the questions and also show the need for more information and education on it. Thank you, Katie. Next, we're going to turn it over to Kathy, who's going to talk a little bit about the Zero Fare for Clean Air. This is an RTD pilot, but I'll go ahead and turn it over to you, Kathy, with Commuting Solutions.
Thanks. Yeah, we're just getting started with doing outreach and promotion marketing for the Zero Fare for Better Air, which I don't know if everyone's heard about that, but essentially all of RTD, including Access2Ride, I've been told, is going to be free for the month of August. They got a grant to cover this to help ameliorate the terrible air quality conditions that we've had. And so we're coming up with ways that we can integrate talking about the free fare program with everything we're doing, all of the outreach events that we're holding, just partnering with all the different municipalities we work with to really try to encourage people to get on the buses and really show the support for RTD and just reduce the amount of vehicle miles traveled. So that's I believe RTD told us that we can kind of go live with this promotion on the 15th. And some of you guys probably know more about it than I do even. So if anybody else has more pertinent information to add about the program, I'm happy to have people chime in. Or not.
Thank you. Yeah, no, great, thank you. And it looks like Paul, I was looking at Paul's comment. He did say that yes, Access2Ride is also going to be Zero Fare, as well as the Access-a-Cab and Metro Taxi contract and Uber pilot. So that's great news. And then also, just so you all know, the legislation that funds this also provided some funding for statewide transit, fare-free transit. So CASTA, which is the Colorado Association of Transit Agencies, is leading that effort to get the smaller bucket of money for other transit providers out to smaller transit providers. But they are going to hopefully be leading a statewide effort for people to track their transit trips so that we can show what the impact of the whole legislation was. So basically it would have an app where you would track like when you took transit, and it would give you an output of the gas saved and then also the carbon emissions reduced.
Yeah, and that's a good point that we have that available to us in the Northwest Metro area with the My Way to Go program. So we should definitely also really encourage people to use that so that we are tracking those trips and can show support.
Yeah, that's great. And I'm gonna just tag team it, turn it over to Elaine, the other TMO in the area, because I'm sure she has something to say about this as well.
Thanks so much, Angel. And yeah, I have to kind of echo a lot of what Kathy just said, that, things have been really busy in our world. I don't know if everybody's aware, we've had some staffing changes. So I think Amanda Mansfield joined the organization earlier in the year. We have also made Emily Reddick, who was a consultant, a full-time member of our staff. So getting up to speed has been great. BTC, having just joined the chamber last year, we've had a little bit of pivoting and reorganizing. So we do have a new website that is bouldertc.org. Definitely check that out just to learn more about. I don't know if everybody here knows, what we do in this world of TMOs. So BTC is the one for the city of Boulder, where Kathy is that sort of surrounding area. And we're just here trying to help people figure out those low carbon choices, getting out of vehicles. So of course, we'll be promoting the Zero Fare for Cleaner Air campaign as well come August. And we've also been in discussion with RTD about a lot of those changes that are coming up with eco passes and ticketing for the coming year. So trying to be ready for that. Not to mention that, you know, Dr. Cog is also been working on their clean commute campaign. So we're hoping to do more promotion of that, because we just, you know, we hope that people will take advantage of the transit during August. I was just looking to see, okay, it's August 21 is when the service changes kick back in. I wish it was August 1, because there are certainly routes like the Bolt where it's currently running on an hourly service. And, you know, I'm definitely interested to see what the potential higher demand is going to do for these routes during that interim. You know, like Kathy, we've also been kind of active on the work that's been going in with the bus rapid transit through the diagonal corridor. So a reminder for people, I think we have like one more week for any comments people have on those preliminary plans. I can get you that information if you don't need it, but it's for both the bus rapid transit and the bikeway along 119. We're doing a lot of focus for the gun barrel area in particular, just because of that kind of changing landscape they will have for what's going on in that area. And one other thing I want to mention to people, we've been really kind of trying to heighten our social media engagement. So usually it's, if you look for Boulder Transportation Connections or Boulder TC, you can find us. If we are not yet linked on social media, it's great to do that, because I'm getting more ability to share with other organizations. So like VIA, and we have spoken a lot about how we can collaborate. We want to keep being able to do that. And, you know, a couple campaigns that I'm preparing for, you know, I'll be planning our meeting that's coming up in September, our next quarterly lunch. So I may be reaching out to you, Jessica, to see about that. And then, you know, still, as I say, working on these other campaigns, and we'll also be promoting just more as a general through the areas Go-Tober, which is not totally unlike Bike to Work Day, other than we get to promote every different type of mode that people might use. So as I say, our message is just trying to encourage people using the variety of options that they have available. So appreciate all the work everybody else is doing, because it really helps shed a light on the different needs people have in that area. So thanks.
Great, thank you. And we will definitely connect on the social media front. I know that Jessica's going to provide an update here shortly. But thank you for everything you guys do. Next on our list, we have Erin with CPWD. I know there's a lot going on over there with your anniversary event and everything, but I'll turn it over to you.
Can everybody hear me okay?
Yeah, we can hear you.
All right, great. So I've collaborated with Craig Towler. Craig Towler is our community organizer through Center for People with Disabilities. I've asked him to respond to the questions that Angel had sent out to me and Craig. So what are some upcoming events or changes that are occurring at Center for People with Disabilities? CPWD is celebrating its 45th anniversary this year on Thursday, July 14th, 2022, from noon to 2 p.m. It's going to be here at the Boulder office, which is our main office in the garden. Everyone is welcome. We're going to really kind of be just celebrating that anniversary, recognizing the 32nd anniversary of the Americans with Disabilities Act signing by, and then just enjoying some fun, music, food, and I think there's going to be a raffle. Consumers, community partners are welcome. What other collaborative efforts are you working on to improve access to service for individuals with disabilities? Recently, CPWD has collaborated with Boulder County AAA and Boulder County Justice Coalition for All in a program called Abuse Later in Life, or JCALL, to facilitate a focus group with low vision consumers. And this purpose of this project is to address and improve JCALL's community response to abuse later on in life, and to raise awareness and provide resources and education to protect and empower all older individuals to live safely in the community. So it's just a collaboration between CPWD and a consortium of low vision consumers who are senior citizens, and trying to get feedback and ways to create prevention and create education around the issue of elder abuse later on in life, really to prevent that or educate people about it so they're really aware of it. What other transportation gaps are the people in your service area experiencing currently? Couple of bullet points here that Craig brought up was the lack of accessible transportation options is still a main concern for equal access and equal participation as a Center for Independent Living, through which Center for People with Disabilities is. And that's kind of one of our main pillars, as designated as a CIL, which is a Center for Independent Living. Local routes being cut to do COVID-19 ridership declines are still an issue because these routes are remaining cut despite ridership returning and increasing. Let's see, how can MAC partner support our efforts? Well, we're really excited to continue advocating both from consumer level and from an agency level, in collaborating with the MAC and the transportation training workshops for low vision and blind individuals. I don't know, do you guys have any other questions, or that's kind of what we're working on? Yeah.
A lot going on. I don't think, does anybody have any questions for Erin? No, great. Thank you for sharing. We're also working with your low vision, beyond vision group to update the workshops, the technology education workshops, so that they're fully accessible for low vision and blind folks as well. So lots going on. Yeah.
Good.
Next, we have Colorado Car Share. Peter, are you on here?
Yeah, can you hear me okay?
Yep, we can hear you.
Great, thanks, Angel. Yeah, we're a lot going on, peak season, as with many of us. We have new staff. We were substantively short-staffed for a little while, as many organizations have been, but back up to full steam ahead right now. Our Our service is continuing to grow along with our fleet size. We're in terms of car share numbers and usage, probably at or above pre-COVID by a bit. Pre-COVID, we were at about 45 car share vehicles. We're up to the upper 50s now. And we have about 4,000 members across the metro region. So we're, for those of you who don't know, primarily in the city and county of Denver and across Boulder County. Recently launching new locations, like for example, at Josephine Commons in Lafayette with support from Boulder County. We're working with, for example, VIA and Boulder County to try to integrate VIA volunteer drivers, for example, into a couple of our locations as a pilot in Louisville and Lafayette. That took a big pause during COVID, but that's something that we're trying to get back up and running. And the big thing that's really kind of we've been focused on over the last number of months and probably well into next year is our effort to provide and expand our electrification efforts, including into lower income and underrepresented communities. So we're up to about, I think, 15 or 16 electric vehicles right now. So, you know, about 25% of our fleet or so. And we're working on a program with Xcel Energy through their transportation electrification program to, and specifically their Partners in Research and Innovation, PRI, part of their plan to do a pilot to really expand car sharing into electrified car sharing into lower income and what they call high emissions communities. So we're like at the process right now where we've been working on the program for the last 6 months, and now they're accepting community applications. And I know, like, we're hopeful that Boulder County, possibly Boulder, the city of Boulder, and Denver City and County apply, because there are a variety of areas. And the idea with this program is to build off the work we've done, but also launch it in new types of areas. So not just your core, more dense urban areas, but also your, you know, less dense metro areas, and also into more rural and mountainous areas. So hopefully we'll see some of that activity if and when Boulder County applies. So yeah, that's about it for us. Always looking for those collaborative opportunities in terms of how MAC partners can support us. So if there are, you know, outreach or collaborative efforts that we can support with, then let us know. Oh, one other side area for folks to think about. So we have about, I think probably about 40% of our members that fall under families with lower incomes, at least, and that's growing. We're trying to achieve more social equitable goals that have been approved by our board. But one of the ways that we are able to work with those lower income residents is through our residents who live already in affordable income partner locations. So like Boulder Housing Partners, for example, or Denver Housing Authority. And you know, that's obviously limited. We don't have a lot of resources to vet, you know, every single person that applies through us. So it's like we do it through those partners. So if there are other partners or ways that folks can help us to get residents that may qualify into our program, then we're always open to those ideas and partnerships. Happy to take any questions that Angel, you might have, or anyone else.
No, I think that's great. I think that Whitney Wilcox from HHS might be a good person for us to connect with, because she oversees the Family Resource Network, all the nonprofits that are working with low-income households. So perhaps you could do something similar where you have a code and they can distribute the codes, because they're all income verified. But,
that would be great. Thanks.
Yeah, and then also for Boulder County, I believe that Leah Yancey, if we do apply for the, I forget which one it is, because there's a couple different grant opportunities, but there's one that's due at the end of the month that is supposed to be for equitable car share access. I believe that Leah Yancey is going to be leading that grant application process.
Yep. Yeah, great. Yeah, I had a couple of meetings with her, and I think we've narrowed down some locations. So hopefully
Great.
That'll work. Thanks, Angel.
Yeah, wonderful. Great. Thank you, Peter. Next, I'm not sure, Veronica, if you're, I know that you had a timeline perhaps. Veronica, are you still on? Oh, hi. Can't hear you now, but I can see your face, so.
Okay, I think I can you hear
We're
me now?
good. I can hear you. We're golden.
Yay. Yeah, I was having some difficulties earlier, but I think those are okay now. Well, thank you. Thanks for the opportunity to share some of what's going on at the Longmont Senior Center. Like most of you have said, we've also had an impact on staff changes. We've mostly Michelle Wade, who participated with MAC, retired after 40 years with the Longmont Senior Services. So right now, we're looking for a new manager. We're not fully staffed yet. I think we've heard stories about this with most of the agencies that have presented, though we do have a new programmer and counselor that recently joined us, so we're excited about that. We're crossing our fingers that, you know, hopefully by the end of the fall, we are fully staffed. But even so, we are doing our best not to alter services for our older adults. Most of the new staff, of course, is in a learning curve, and some of the folks here are taking on additional duties. But we are really trying to get to full capacity. I mean, we used to have 10,000 people walk through our doors pandemic, and now we're getting up to close to 6,000. So it has been really busy here. We are in frequent communication with community partners. Many who are here or have been here in the meeting today who serve older adults. We work with VIA, we work with Cultivate, CPWD, Boulder County Area Agency on Aging, as well as the different housing authorities, adult protection services, and of course, home health care agencies. I wanted to say that Aaron from CPWD made some good points. We've had, also people that don't have that equal access and participation. Older adults a lot of times have to, because there's been cuts in some of the public transit routes, they're having to walk from some of them from their senior housing sites. They're having to walk longer, like a mile and a half, sometimes up to 2 miles to catch their buses. Though we are fortunate that we do have VIA, some of our older adults are still, wanting to catch those rides to go to and from and to run their errands, but it's getting more difficult as they're aging in place, and they're trying to figure out, how to navigate via Cultivate. But, we help them. We try to help them. We're navigators ourselves, so we try to help them, sign up for some of these services. And also for some of our Spanish-speaking older adults, sometimes it's difficult to use some of these services because some of the, bus drivers don't speak the language, and sometimes there's some miscommunication, but we're getting there. Let's see. What else can I tell you? We also have been having some of the gaps that we are seeing, especially for, of course, older adults, are when they have certain surgeries where they have to sign out. Obviously, VIA cannot, sign people out. Cultivate cannot. Some of those volunteers, because of the liability. Some home health care agencies also require a minimum weekly minimum hours, whereas sometimes some folks just need a couple of hours to get picked up after surgery. So those are some of the gaps that we're seeing, and some of those sometimes have to be a private pay option, which are also limited because a lot of folks don't know how to, they don't have the technology to use Uber and Lyft options. So sometimes it's the private pays, and sometimes we do have some of those options, but and then if they need financial assistance, we can apply for grants. Also, IntelliRide is for the non-emergency medical transportation. It has been tough to navigate that system for several of our clients. So there's times that they can get them there, there's times that they cannot. It's just been, that's maybe some support that we need around that from our partners here with MAC, how to brainstorm that piece, and also just brainstorm information of new and creative transportation options to fill those gaps that we have, not just for older adults, but for people around our community. So I think that's all I have. Do you have any questions?
Well, thank you. I think that the IntelliRide issue has been a persistent one that I hear about quite a bit. I will put in the chat the complaint process that we can take. Right now, the biggest issue is that it's oversight of the contract, and it hasn't just been IntelliRide. It was issues with Veo, and before that, and Transit Plus, I believe, was the one before that. So I do think that we could try to get somebody from HCPF, Healthcare Policy and Finance, to present on the issue, perhaps. But I will put the complaint process in the chat. There's two different ways to complain about IntelliRide. One is if it's a personal issue, so like you specifically were left at your doctor's appointment, and the other is more like if there's systemic issues that you as a program are noticing. So I put those in the chat, and really, I mean, I can't underscore enough how important it is to report whenever there's an issue. A lot of the issues, just so you all can share this with your clients or the people you serve, is that when people are getting picked up, they're inside of a large medical facility and they don't get phone reception, so they don't get notified when the vehicle is there to pick them up. And so if the vehicle doesn't hear from them, then they leave. Usually they count them as a no-show. So just having people be aware of the fact that cell service is really important, on your being picked up on the way home. Is anybody else experiencing some of the same issues with IntelliRide?
I have many issues with IntelliRide.
Well, as a provider, an IntelliRide provider, would you like to share those?
Well, one of the issues that I'm actually having with them has to do actually with our mobility rates, and I have gone to HCPF about this, but it's gotten to the point where we can pretty much no longer accept mobility trips most of the time, so passengers in wheelchairs, because they're being paid out at $1 a mile compared to our regular PUC rate is $2.50 a mile. So it is not financial. I can't get drivers to pick up passengers who are now getting paid less than a regular rate. That's just one of my issues right now. But we have issues along the lines of, we have passengers calling us because we're a ride provider to go pick them up, but they're not sent to us as a ride provider. So we can't go pick them up because then we're not going to get paid to provide those services. And we have no idea who their ride provider is, and they need to get a hold of IntelliRide. So those are some of my main issues that we have, on top of some other massive issues just with getting paid for doing the services we do with them.
Yeah. Just to provide a little bit of context, in 2019, and I don't know if Corey is still on the call. Corey, you're in the 9-county service area, right? Not to put you on the spot.
He is.
Yes, we
Yeah.
are.
Yeah, you're in the 9-county. Okay. So in 2019, HICPUF gave IntelliRide the contract for all of the areas outside of the 9-county region of Denver, and it's Denver County region plus Larimer and Weld counties, correct? Is that the 9-county? Okay. And a lot of the providers, the rural providers, had been providing their own Medicaid transportation, and they were able to measure the impact of the contract going to IntelliRide, and they were able to actually have HICPUF cancel the IntelliRide contract for the rural areas because they saw such a decrease in productivity. That's in areas where there's usually only like one provider. So it's a really small number, but I think that HICPUF is aware, since they had that cancellation of the contract for the rural regions, I think they're aware that there's persistent problems. But I don't know, Corey, if you have anything to add to this about IntelliRide and issues, persistent issues.
What we've heard since the Larimer and Weld counties were never sent to the statewide brokerage, since they're already part of it. It's really just the same old, same old. Most of the concerns that we hear is drivers getting dispatched from Denver up to Greeley and not being familiar with the community, and being harder to get rides scheduled because of just that central distribution out of Denver.
Okay.
And it's hard for me to understand as a ride provider sometimes, because I'll have days where I have a driver in Greeley and they won't send me a trip all day. But I hear about these these drivers coming up from Denver to do the trips, and it doesn't make logical sense to me. And the information that I get, I feel like there's a really strong lack of communication through it. And I feel like whenever I talk to somebody as a ride provider, I just get kind of pushed in a different direction.
Yeah. Well, I think maybe Corey, you, me, and then Dr. Mack, we can connect on like how do we raise the 9-county issues to a higher level, maybe through CASA, because I know that this is persistently like an issue.
Agreed, and we're really kind of lost on where to even turn to.
Yeah.
Kate Williams did share the name and contact information of the new Ryan Dwyer with HICPUF, but I haven't had a chance to reach out to them yet.
I've reached out to him and emailed him about some of my concerns, and then he just told me to send an email to the board for any MT information, and I've done that a few times. And yeah, actually, this is a wonderful time to bring this up, because I feel like I actually have been trying to work on this individually for a bit, and I'm not getting anywhere. And I think like I said, one of my main concerns is the fact that the state is paying. This doesn't even necessarily have to do with IntelliRide, but the state's rates for mobility transportation is so much lower than ambulatory transportation that it makes it very, it's going to leave a lot of people not getting.
And I know that we've had some issues. I don't know, we'll have to double check to see what the rates currently are, but there was issues with parity between nonprofit providers and private providers like Z-Trip, and they weren't getting reimbursed the same. Nonprofit providers are getting reimbursed less. So I think that we'll follow up. I think it'll probably be November before we can really get anybody on the agenda from HICPUF. But thanks for bringing it up, Veronica. I know it's persistent, and I know it's frustrating for people.
But thank you all for brainstorming this and helping our older adults in the community out.
Yeah, and I can't say this enough, like have people complain whenever there's an issue, because then they have to document it. And when it goes up for bid for the next contract, then hopefully we can fix some of the systemic issues.
And I think at least 2 of our clients have complaints. They have followed the process, and we try to help them with that too. They wanted to, and there's some people that just don't want to. even though we encourage them and we try to help them. But yes, thank you. We will continue to encourage just documenting.
Okay, and I'll probably send out a survey to get a little bit more data before we invite HICPUF so that we can frame the conversation a little bit better. So I'll be asking for your input moving forward probably. Okay, so Natalie had to hop off. So let me go ahead and share with you the service changes that she said are coming up here for the August service change. So these are the ones I tried to highlight, the ones that are just for Boulder County. So it looks like the 204 is going to go back to 15-minute frequency. And for those of you who aren't aware, usually in the August service change, we get more service because CU and BVSD and St. Vrain Valley School District are back in session. So, so they'll say return to fall service patterns. And that means that they have to readjust the routes a little bit to make sure that they time appropriately for connections. And then they also have increased service frequency. So the 206 is going to have reinstate the weekday service frequency. So it's going to have 30-minute service during AM and peak hours. So that's during the rush hours. The 225, which is Boulder Lafayette via baseline, it's going to return during peak hours to 15-minute frequency for the fall and winter. The Bolt is going to reinstate weekly peak service for 30 minutes due to increased demand for fall and winter service. The Dash is going to have reinstate peak service to 15-minute frequency within Boulder. It has like a slight change, like when it goes outside of Boulder, it'll be reduced frequency. For the Jump, for AM and PM peak, it's going to be 15-minute service. And then for weekday AM PM between Erie and Lafayette, there's going to be 15-minute frequency. The NB, it doesn't get more service in the winter, but they changed the times to align with the needs of going up to the ski resort. So I don't think it actually gets more service or less service, it just changes. And then the Skip is going to go to weekday 15-minute service. So that's kind of the overall changes. And I can't really respond to RTD necessarily, but if you have any questions, then definitely reach out to Natalie Hanlos. I think that she said they're the final service change and that they're going to be posting them on the website shortly. Are there any other updates before we move on? Okay, I think that was really good updates. It was good to hear from so many people, and I'll be reaching out for the September updates for people that we didn't hear from today. So I will turn the floor over to Jessica now.
Yeah, thank you, Angel. So I wanted to talk very briefly about the social media newsletter and event inventory that we are launching. And this is related to what Elaine was talking about, social media presence and collaboration. So this survey should take approximately 15 to 10 minutes. And it should be completed by the people in your organization who manage social media, newsletters, and schedule outreach events. The purpose of this survey is to make an inventory of our MAC members' social media and newsletter assets to coordinate outreach events and enable us to collaborate more effectively. So we are asking that you please complete this survey to help us establish which outreach methods are accessible to to distribute transportation-related information. I think I pasted, yeah, the link is on the chat, and yeah, we will appreciate your participation. I don't think we have many responses now, but this is a good first start to have a more collaborative approach to social media. Thank you.
Thank you. And we did this survey, I think, Elaine, you were part of the initial one that we did like in 17 or 18. That list that we have is kind of getting outdated. So I keep getting like, this person's left the organization. So this is just our effort to update that list and make sure that we have everybody to kind of promote as much as and broadly as possible. Okay. So I have one short thing before I turn it over to Chloe. basically the mobility and access for all ages and abilities plan. You all have like heard about this plan a lot over the last few months, last few years actually, but it's going to go to the Boulder County Commissioners on July 28th at 1 p.m. So that's where the commissioners are going to hear public comments and possibly adopt it as our policy as it pertains to older adults, people with disabilities, low-income households, youth transportation priorities. So just keep that in mind. I'll put the meeting portal. It's not something that you necessarily register for, but you click on the BOCC's meeting portal to be able to access the meeting information. So I will go ahead and turn it over to Chloe. I know that we're slowly losing people, but this will be a good opportunity for us to give feedback on the MAC.
Yeah, thank you so much, Angel. And yeah, I'll try and make this as quick as possible. This is going to be a Menti, and you have the QR code there, but I'll also share the link once I share my screen. Then the link is there as well as the code if you want to get up and started on your Menti. This is going to be just a discussion and giving us feedback about the internal versus external part of the MAC meetings. So just a reminder, the internal meetings are internally focused and where we give presentations from MAC members, we build capacity, and we get some feedback for the MAC. And external meetings are externally focused, and we have presentations from various stakeholders, grant funding presentations, and updates from organizations throughout the county, so not just necessarily from people who are involved in the MAC. So Angel, I'm going to share my screen. Okay, we're still on the breakout groups. Oops, sorry, I can't see with the Zoom bar there. Okay, I might need to stop sharing my screen for a second. Oops, sorry.
It looks like it might be the second tab on your browser.
Yeah, I can't click it with the bar up here.
Oh yeah.
Sorry about that. Let's.
If you want, I can pull it up.
Yeah, that would be awesome. Thank you. I appreciate it. I'm not sure why I can't see it or stop sharing my screen.
Okay. I'm gonna need you to stop sharing. That way I can.
Thank you.
Okay.
Awesome. Thanks, Angel. So yeah, if you can get on the Menti, that would be great. You can skip to the next slide, Angel. So this is, again, the internal versus external MAC meetings. You can skip to the next slide. So first of all, are there, oh yes, I can put the link in the chat. But in the meantime, does anyone have any questions about the difference between internal and external meetings?
It's kind of an artificial distinction that we made like at the beginning of this year.
Definitely.
I'm actually new and to the group and to VIA Mobility Services. Are the external meetings held at one particular location or various locations?
Yeah, so all of our meetings are virtual. So basically that means that every other month we are going to be internal or external. So on even months, we are going to be internal, and then on odd months will be external. So yeah, they're all virtual though, as of now.
Oh, I guess I don't know what the difference means then.
Yeah, no problem. So
Yeah.
internal, yeah, no problem. Internal meetings are where we look internally at our coalition and talk about updates for our personal organizations and build capacity for the different types of projects that we all have together as a coalition. And external is where we talk about different opportunities for us to grow as individuals and also as a coalition. And we have presentations from external sources that aren't necessarily in the MAC. And we look at external sources of grant funding and things like that. Did that clarify a bit?
Yes, thank you.
Yeah, no problem. Let's see. So we have a couple questions. Do both meetings have community updates from partners? Yes, we do have updates from partners on both meetings. Yeah, since the meetings are monthly, we usually have as many updates as we can fit in the meetings. And then someone else says, seems to work. It's always good to have some flexibility in case there's something more timely. Awesome. So we'll move on just for time's sake. Can switch. Awesome. Thank you. So we've noticed some difference in participation for the MAC meetings. It seems like things kind of dipped between April and May. I'm guessing people were just a little bit busy and couldn't come to the meetings. But for the most part, internal and external have pretty similar numbers. We usually get around 25 to 35 participants. But we just wanted to make sure that this process was working for all of you. So Angela, if you want to go to the next slide. Or if you can hear an ambulance outside of my window. And then we're wondering if there is a meeting format that you would prefer, if you prefer the internal meetings or the external meetings, or if you prefer the system that we're doing now where we have both at the same time.
And I put a link in the chat that you can actually just click on without entering a code. So you can do that in your browser as well. Might simplify things a little bit.
Okay, so it looks like most people do like the system of doing both internal and external facing meetings. Angel, if you want to go to the next slide. So now what's working well during the internal meetings? So that's the meetings that we share updates and we build capacity. We do things like transportation case studies. We do things like this where we see what's working well with the MAC. I know a couple of months ago, we did a fun breakout group on how we can celebrate 10 years of the MAC. So things like that happen in internal meetings. So I see someone says case studies is working really well. We learn more resources during case studies, definitely. And feel free to just talk in the meeting as well if you don't want to use the Menti. It looks like someone says they're new, but the case studies help learn about resources, which is great. Another case studies are great, which is wonderful. All right, we can go to the next slide. Breakouts are nice to meet people, definitely. Learning through case studies and presentation. It's good to hear that you all like the case studies.
You want me to move forward?
Yeah, that sounds great. Thank you. And then what could be improved during the internal meetings? So are there things that you would like to see more of, that you would like to see less of, things that we can add to internal meetings that would improve the format of those? A shorter meeting. Good to know. Thank you. More breakout sessions. Yeah, it seems like people like getting to know each other and having a more intimate conversation. more opportunities for discussion, either small or large group. Absolutely. I think the discussions always go really well, and we learn a lot through hearing from all of you. Meet earlier in the day. Awesome. Thank you. Very good to know. Any last comments on this one? Okay.
I think it's been a while since we've talked about the date and time. Like Mondays can be hard for people, but it seemed to be like when people were available when we initially set them. So maybe we could do a doodle poll or something.
Yeah. Yeah, we've discussed possibly changing the time and seeing when more people are available. All right. And then what's working well in the external meetings? What have you liked? Are there any particular presentations that you remember that you've really enjoyed? Any sorts of data that you think you could really benefit from, or specific grants, presentations, things like that? Someone likes the variety of presentations, definitely. Hearing from different providers, transportation planning presentations, and external presentations are a great way to engage with new partners. All good to know. Thank you, everyone. Any last comments on what's working well in external meetings? Okay, what could be improved during the external meetings? What would you like to see more of in terms of presentations? What would you like to see less of? Is there anyone in particular that you would like to hear from during these meetings? More engagement, and that I could mean engagement with community partners, engagement with each other. Yeah, engagement is definitely an important word.
I'm not sure if people, because we're over time, so I don't know if people are just checking out more breakout sessions.
Definitely. I think we only have 2 more slides, so just 1 more minute, I think.
Oh, do you want me to? Sorry, I guess I can go back.
That's okay. Any last improvements that can be made during external meetings?
I wrote it in the wrong Menti slide, but I think I really appreciate how Angel highlights the social determinants of health and how transportation fits into that at the beginning of meetings. And there could be an opportunity to kind of thematically theme some external meetings around those different other determinants.
Yeah,
definitely.
That's great. Yeah. I think we did that. I don't know if Elaine's still on here, but I think we might have done that in 18, but it might be a good after COVID to redo all that. That's great.
Absolutely. Thanks, Corey. Any other comments? Okay. So how long should the MAC meetings be? I know someone said they should be a little bit shorter. I know they're 1 hour and 45 right now, but just getting more of a feel of how people feel they should, how long people feel they should be. It looks like people like the 1.5 hours. It seems like 2 hours might be a little bit too long, and then 1 person for 1 hour. Perfect. So it seems like we're kind of hitting the right time right now, which is good to hear. Okay, can go to the next one. And then how can we improve how we facilitate the MAC? Is there any way that we at Mobility for All can improve how we facilitate conversations, or how we can support all of you in any of your presentations to the MAC, or you connecting with other transit providers and organizations in the MAC? Other engagement opportunities that aren't breakout rooms, mostly just carrying in the conversation. I think that is definitely important, and we'll have to explore some other ways we can do that virtually, and make sure that there's an even conversation throughout all of the breakout rooms. More time to connect in small groups, definitely. So you can all get to know each other a little bit better. I know it's hard to facilitate that virtually, but small groups and breakout sessions can help with that.
So I guess since we're not in this small group, I guess we don't necessarily pick up on when it's kind of quiet in there. So I'm not sure like how to necessarily, I don't know. Does somebody want to speak to that? Whoever wrote the other engagement opportunities that aren't big breakout rooms? Steph, if you're talking, you're muted.
What about now?
You're good.
Yeah, you're good. We can hear you.
Okay. Yeah, I wrote that. I feel like sometimes, and maybe it's just because there are some folks in the breakout rooms that I'm in that don't really know much about transportation. So being someone who like works at Dr. Mac, I know a lot about it. So maybe that's why I feel like I'm usually the one carrying conversations most of the time. But I don't know, maybe like slightly bigger groups than the smaller breakout rooms that we have, because I feel like there's a lot of conversation when we get back into the larger group that kind of like flows better and there's more perspectives and it's not as like sometimes painfully quiet. So maybe just like instead of like 3 people to a breakout room, maybe like 5 to 7 or something like that.
Definitely, yeah, that's good to know. Thank you so much for letting us know that for all the small groups that we do in the MAC. I think this is, oh, okay. What is currently working well for the MAC meeting? Sorry, I must have allotted a little more time for this. But it sounds like we've heard a lot of what's working well in the MAC meetings, which is small groups, the case studies, getting to know each other a little bit better as people who work at organizations and transit providers. And yeah, I think this is the last question. Angel, if you want to flip to the next one. Cross-section of partners, definitely.
Did you say go to the next slide?
Yeah, feel free to. Yeah, I think that's the last one. Yes. Does anyone have any comments or questions or anything about the things that we've talked about, such as internal and externally facing, or any comments on MAC facilitation in general?
Well, thank you all for sticking around.
Yeah,
you
thank
all
you so
are like
much.
the diehard crowd staying here till 3:55. So
Really appreciate it. Thank you for all of your feedback. It's always really helpful to get some feedback. So thanks for sticking around.
thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Good job, Chloe.
Thank you. Thanks.
Yeah, good job, Chloe.
Thank you for sharing, Angel. I don't know what happened to my screen.